Hello and welcome to Partyline Chat. My name is Michael Finney. Today we are joined by Alex Agut and Jack Liu. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves, please, in any order?
Hey, Michael. Hey, this is Alex Agut. I am the CEO of HandCash. I've been an entrepreneur for most of my adult life, and now I fell in love with Bitcoin a few years ago, and well, now we are doing HandCash, and it's a very exciting journey.
Hey everyone, I'm Jack Liu, CEO of RelayX. Like Alex, I've been a fan of Bitcoin for many years, since about 2013. Relay is a Bitcoin wallet built on Bitcoin SV.
Very good. Can I get an introduction from the other guys that are hanging out today with us on Partyline?
I'm Mr. Bachvond. I have the bag on my head on Twitter.
Hey, Tim Nushi here on Twitter.
Yeah, this is Evan. I'm the guy with the really hard to write and pronounce Twitter handle.
That's all right. Welcome to the program. If you're just joining us, again, we have Alex and Jack, two BSV entrepreneurs. Want to shout out Shaw Wars, of course. You can go to shawwars.com and you can vote on the people that are participating, our two guests. So you can use BSV to encourage whichever person you think is making a good point at that point in time. So let's kind of jump into where you guys are. Probably you have the most rubber meeting the road and the same road, right? Which I would say is, for Alex, you've got HandCash, and for Jack, you have Relay. What are the major differences in your approach that you guys are taking to service the hungry Bitcoin SV public with your offering, your software solution? Anybody want to jump in first, or we could just flip a coin and let's say...
I let Jack start.
Okay, then Jack, you're first.
What was the question?
So the question is, tell us a little bit about how you are approaching wallets with Relay and maybe some of the strengths of the Relay wallet.
Sure. We are very early stages in Bitcoin. And so we're very open-minded, and we just want to make sure that we are the bridge and the entrance point for all the users to enjoy the magic that's to come in Bitcoin. So right now, you can take a look that we have really indulged ourselves with the whole development of the ecosystem. And we're working with a lot of apps currently in the Relay App Store. So we think as Bitcoin grows in the next few years, over time, there'll be a lot of new protocols and token protocols and different apps to add in. So we don't really want to just be a place where you hold and store your Bitcoins. We want to be a place where you use Bitcoin in very magical ways.
Alex?
I would say that we have a very similar approach, at least on that end. And the reason why we started HandCash was that because we actually started learning about Bitcoin and we liked the technology so much, but we found out that every product out there sucked, and we had some experience with building apps with great user experience that were pretty simple and that people really liked. So we decided to, make our own version of what a Bitcoin app would look like, and that's why we started with HandCash, and improving the user experience and making Bitcoin more accessible for both users and developers is our main focus.
So let's talk a little bit more about that point that you just made. There's a strong development community in BSV. Would you guys agree?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
It could be stronger, but it's coming.
Fair enough. You guys have what I would consider two very different approaches to development. I would say that at least enabling the development community. So let's say HandCash Connect, it's somewhere around the corner. We don't know exactly when you're going to launch. I don't want to put you under the gun and say, that you're going to be available on XYZ day.
Yeah, don't ask me for dates.
Okay, so no major announcements on HandCash Connect coming here exclusively on Partyline today. I see.
Not necessarily, no, but it's very close. It's very close.
All right. So, and then the other side of the coin with Relay is you have taken, I don't want to, overstep here, but a more open platform web development sort of approach, similar to what we have seen from other offerings in BSV. Do you think that's true, Jack, or is there something more along the HandCash Connect route that you are also kind of planning?
Well, we think of ourselves as kind of running one of the lifeboats off of the Titanic that is the current world economy and the current structure. And we know there's a lot of developers that are dependent on us. So while we would love to build a perfect product, we kind of need to bootstrap along with everyone else into the ecosystem. And as that ecosystem has a greater GDP and we take a small slice of that market, we'll be able to fund ourselves to build sort of the more elite products that you expect from Apple or Tesla. So we look at today right now as kind of a bootstrap phase. And that's probably why you see us ship functions faster and trying to show examples to developers and future developers what's really possible with Bitcoin. And then we'll kind of make it all polished in the years to come.
Do you think of these two things that are juxtaposed, right? Do you think of this, and this is for both of you, this is, obviously an open conversation, all the other guys can jump in as they see fit as well. Do you see that as these two sides of open, free range development versus a walled garden type of experience? And I am thinking of HandCash Connect as a walled garden because it is tied in with HandCash specifically, right? Or am I misinterpreting that, Alex? Just,
No, I mean it's tied to HandCash accounts, yeah. But isn't Relay also tied to Relay accounts?
Certainly, it certainly is.
Maybe I'm missing something there.
Well, I would say that at least in the Relay development side, what very little I have experimented with personally, it is tied to the web, right? So this is being integrated. You're integrating a wallet into what your already existing web development is. From HandCash Connect, I feel like these are going to be tools that are built into the app, or am I totally wrong about that? Is this going to be something?
No, you're totally wrong.
Okay.
HandCash Connect is it's in essence it's all HTTP based, so it can run on any kind of device that has internet connection. So we are not tied. I think the main difference with Money Button and Relay, etc., is that as HandCash Connect is HTTP based, and that's because we use TSS for signing and many other stuff, and our architecture allows for it. You can basically get this code, and it's a very basic SDK, so you can implement Bitcoin calls on any device that has an internet connection and can run HTTP code, which is basically anything. So it's not something that is tied to the app necessarily. I mean, you can have the HandCash Connect SDK running on a server, and you can build a bot that's scrapping tweets or something, and that can trigger some payments from there, and you don't even have to install a HandCash app ever if you want, as a developer, I mean. So yeah, I'm in that case, I wouldn't call it a walled garden. It's a walled garden in the sense that, yeah, we are developing this SDK, and if you want to use our SDK, you just have to approve the use, and that's it. But nothing beyond that.
Sure. All right, so that's a good distinction.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think HandCash gets a bit of a misunderstanding. I believe Alex is also launching HandCash for the web and also for every other platform.
No.
So really, we might be branded a little bit differently, but structurally, it's the same mic. I do think there will be a difference in the future. Our plan, I don't think we've announced anywhere else. We're going to, over the next few months, open source Relay 1, the wallet architecture underneath Relay,
Incredible.
which will allow any application to build your own wallet and native to your own app. So you can imagine an app will no longer need to say log in with Money Button or log in with Relay or log in with HandCash. It can just log in with itself, and it'll still be interoperable with all the other accounts built on top of the similar open source wallet infrastructure.
I think those are all really important points to make, because given how much of a download anybody has to make just to get involved with the larger discussion within the BSV space, to be able to know these distinctions, or where there aren't these distinctions, and my own misunderstanding of interpreting, what some of the messaging has been, I think that's probably a relatively common issue. So what do you guys think is important in terms of relaying or relating to people, how they can connect with this space and get involved? You like that sentence? Do you like what I did there?
Alex, want to go ahead?
Do you mean from the developer side?
I would say from a user side, but sure, developers are users specifically. They're power users, maybe. So maybe you want to address both.
Yeah. Well, I think there are a lot of great use cases that you can build with Bitcoin and micropayments, and we are still waiting for this PayPal for this eBay for PayPal moment. And I think it's going to just take some time of experimenting and doing brave things like these guys from Twitter doing, or Bmail, or all of these companies. They are experimenting with all new kinds of business models, and I think it's exactly what we need to do at this point. Is we need to find out great use cases that we can make the wallet as good looking, as appealing and easy to use, and the best onboarding ever, or maybe not even having a wallet, as Jack said, which is something like it's obvious that for some companies want that, and you can have all of that, but if you don't have a great reason for actually using Bitcoin, it's not going to matter. So I think it's important to reach all the kinds of developers and allow them to know, hey, do you know that this kind of website that you're building so people can download their icons or fonts or graphics or video game items or something, hey, you can implement it with HandCash Connect or Relay or Money Button or whatever, and you can just purchase these items, and you get this kind of new economy. And for that, I don't think we are that far off. You can create from having an appealing ecosystem. I think we just have to polish a couple of things, but I think essentially we have most of the pieces that we actually need, except for maybe better field ramps.
Jack, do you want to respond to that? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have taken a little bit broader approach than just simply making a wallet. So unlike HandCash and Money Button, we've also stuck our hands into general Bitcoin development, apps development, running the Cambrian bootcamp. So we have a very close idea of what developers are facing, some issues they might be having. And also from my personal background in the broader cryptocurrency space, you can see what's developing on Ethereum, what's developing on even new chains like Solana and Serum. Now, I understand, just like everyone else who's a Bitcoin SV advocate, that those chains do not scale. But you can see from their ecosystem, it's kind of rather impressive, actually, that with such a shitty blockchain, they can do so much in terms of economy, ecosystems, apps that generate significant amounts of money, that have raised significant amount of money in the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. You haven't seen that in Bitcoin SV. So you have to ask yourself why. I actually think that Money Button, HandCash, and Relay seems to me to be as good experience as a lot of the wallets on the other ecosystems. It's more like there are missing applications. there are missing power in Bitcoin. So a lot has been made of the Genesis upgrade, but I still don't see a very mature token ecosystem. I think we are the first wallet to have added that. I think that'll be a critical infrastructure piece to see that eBay use case that Alex is talking about.
Okay, so just really quickly, I just want to say, Jimmy, you're in here. You just joined in. Do you want to say hello so people can hear your voice? You over there?
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
How's it been,
This
man?
is my voice.
Hi.
How are you doing? Welcome back. Are you out in the forest still?
Yeah, it's good. I am. I'm actually at the moment. I'm in North Hollywood, Los Angeles.
Very good.
On a bit of a trip, but it's good to hear nerds talking about Bitcoin again. So glad to be here.
We're happy to have you in here. So we got a couple questions coming in on Periscope I need to address. I don't want these guys to get left behind out of the conversation. So from Randy, what do you think about wallets taking fees? You guys are running wallets and you want to be profitable. What do you think about that?
Yeah, from our side, we are not going to take fees from users. Never.
Developers might be a different story.
Yeah,
That's a big statement.
Jack?
Where I stand is it's a rounding error to take fees right now. So it would cost us more development time to take fees and be a pain in the ass for app developers than it would to make money right now. When that changes, that could change.
Yeah. We might in the future add some fees for some payment requests and things like, but not for micropayments.
All right. There's another question, and hopefully, Randy, hopefully that kind of gets at things for you.
That's Randy of Twitch, right?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think those guys, they think that if we take fees on the wallet part, that somehow these wallets will be better today. And that might be true long term, but I don't think that's true right now.
I don't know. We've made the number. We've run the numbers, and even if you add,
Randy has an immediate response to that.
if you add a significant amount of fees to micropayments in a way that makes sense for a company, you're killing the micropayments use case. And if you add fees too low, you need huge volume that at the time we don't have that kind of volume. And it just doesn't make sense right now.
So the rebuttal here from Randy. And Randy, you have access to this channel. You can pop in if you want. Then how do you plan to make money if open source, Jack? Fair question.
I think we'll probably be still a very dominant implementation on top of that. We also, that way, get to bypass some of the standard setting and get a bigger ecosystem building on top of the same structure. And obviously, we have a lot of other businesses too. But I actually think right now, with the ecosystem having basically only 30,000 users, if we don't open it up, we might only hit 100,000 users. But if we open it up and maybe 500 million people use their own implementations, and maybe a couple 100 million people use ours. So it's really the pie growing.
We kind of feel the exact opposite on that. We are. I agree that there are some companies that actually want to have their own kind of walled garden, and they want just your infrastructure, and we are going to offer that as a service. But it's not something that we would just the way we are, and our principles and what do we stand for. We wouldn't just get some code on the web and, hey, just run it on AWS or whatever. So I think we would do it super convenient through API calls, whatever, at a very low cost. And at scale, we can offer that in a way that, it's cheaper than for them to actually hire a Bitcoin developer or a very skilled developer to actually get this open source thing and make it run on their servers. we think that approach in our, that's not the kind of service that we want to offer, and we think that doesn't scale in human terms. But well, that's our approach, and as I said previously, I think it's the no, as Jack said, that we are going to be more differentiating more, even with money button, whatever. I think it's just a matter of trying different formulas and see what the market wants. I think there's if we have a exciting micropayment economy, we are going to have a lot of different kind of approaches on how we offer these kind of services to companies, and some might want a monthly fee and just make it run on your servers and do everything for us and just give us these API calls, and don't make me hire an expert for this, or 2 or 3 guys when we can, because we know how difficult it is to make very scalable wallet infrastructure, and if you want to really polish it and make it very great in terms of performance, reliability, and all this stuff, it takes a lot of effort, even if you have the code.
So to follow up on that, somebody asked this, and I think you probably already addressed this for the most part. This is towards Alex. This is from Lamont on Periscope. Alex says HandCash is based on HTTP, but can a user use the wallet outside of a HandCash property? I think I kind of get where he's going with that, but I'm just going to let you answer.
No, they can't.
They cannot. Okay.
No, they cannot. And that's part of why we can make it run on every kind of device, and why it will be reliable, fast, and all these kind of things. We started with this kind of decentralized approach where you can get your account and move it to Money Button and from Electrum or whatever, and having a fat wallet running on user's device and signing on device and all this crap. And we just gave up with all these nonsense and concepts because, there's a lot of literature in terms of computer engineering and how to make scalable systems. And right now we reached to a point with HandCash Connect, and that's what we wanted to reach this point before launching, that it's just a matter of buying more hardware to actually make it perform better.
Sure.
So it's not a software. There's no software limits for us anymore with this. It's just a matter of scaling.
But you can see
with hardware.
People could perceive that as a walled garden from some.
We don't care. I mean, if that makes us different, and some people think that this is a better approach because we can have a more controlled ecosystem where apps work better and it's easier to set up and it's more convenient and it's cheaper because of scale.
So would you say that you're focused on creating a unified experience more than you are trying to create
interoperability and all that crap?
Fit for any Bitcoin usage that people might see. You're not necessarily going to stop people from sending their Bitcoin off of HandCash should they choose to.
No.
But
we never know.
On the HandCash Connect network, that's all kind of going to be stitched together pretty tightly.
Yeah, we want to have a very cohesive ecosystem and things that happen smoothly and whatever inside of the ecosystem. And of course, we want to still have a way of sending the money out of HandCash and all that stuff. But the more legacy stuff that we get rid of, and all this kind of legacy stuff that, it's just a nightmare. We've had many issues in these 3 years that we've been working on Bitcoin, and there's many preconceived notions of people that that obviously they are not building a wallet, and they don't know some of they haven't been in our side and have experienced some of. They haven't read the support emails that we get or the nasty reviews that we get at some point. And
you got to serve your community.
We just had to go with.
You have to serve your community first.
Yeah, and it's not just our community. I mean, we when we started HandCash, it was the first MVP. Especially, we were like, even if we launched this MVP, let's get some feedback, let's learn about this Bitcoin stuff and see how we can make it better. And even if the next iteration is going to piss off a lot of true hardcore Bitcoiners and they don't want to use HandCash anymore, we don't give a shit. And we've been with that approach on every major. We've been doing it in every major release, and we trust that if we make a great product, it's going to be a great product. We are not making a great product for Bitcoiners. We're making a great product that everybody can use. And if we can and if the way for accessing 6 billion people out there or 7 billion people out there is means that we have to piss off 20,000 Bitcoiners now, we will.
Bold.
I think that's our place here. I mean, if we wanted to create more sameness and be one of the other 10,000 wallets out there of crypto bullshit and multi-coin and all that crap, we would. But that's, I would rather be planting tomatoes or whatever.
Okay, so
I'm working on Bitcoin.
Another follow-up, and this is for anybody that wants to answer it. Do you think, and this is from River, do you think that makes HandCash custodial? Particularly if it's keyless.
Nope. No, it's not.
Because you can always exit.
No, we can't.
What's that?
No, we can't. That's the whole point of using threshold signatures and another company and this other contract with the other company.
Mike is saying you're free to exit and move your funds off of HandCash. Alex, I think, is saying that
what?
He cannot exit.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Two different things.
Oh, yeah. The clarification was that you're not locked into HandCash because you can choose to, at any point, take your funds off of HandCash.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You're not locked into it when you start using it. Now,
exactly.
Now, here's another question. Well, maybe not so much a question. People commenting that makes things seem like Visa or MasterCard. And I think that you might say, like, yeah, that's okay to be trying to pursue that level of market penetration.
I don't think it works like anyway, but if they think it does, I would settle for becoming the Visa of Bitcoin. So, yeah.
What happens if HandCash goes out of business?
Then it goes out of business.
Yeah. Unfortunate for the service.
I will start any of my other companies. I don't know.
Right. Well, for you, what if the folks that build on Connect? How will they be able to interface with the web or their clients should you guys not keep doing it? How do they plug in, right?
To be honest, we never thought about that because thankfully we have enough money for a while, and we're very positive about what we are doing. And if something goes wrong, then we will figure out what to do with the most responsible way. But it's not in our mindset right now just to think that this is going to end anytime soon.
I want to pull the other guys in here because they're hanging out, and I'm sure they have questions and are interested in having some access to chat with you guys. So, what do you think, folks? Tim, Evan, Jimmy, Brian, you're all here.
And I've been speaking for a while. I'm sorry, Jack.
It's okay. Or even Jack is welcome to make a response about what you've been talking about. I think that because we put the two of you together, I do think that it's a fair question to ask Jack the same thing in terms of Relay and the slider and the wallet that he's developing.
Look, I can see just from knowing Alex and his timeline, he's got a great admiration for obviously Tesla, for Apple, And there are good examples of what he's talking about, which is the vertical integrated amazing experience. And a lot of people prefer the iPhone over the Android. I think in Bitcoin it's slightly different, but I can see where it can be very profitable to run that way. I'm not sure right now is the right time for that strategy. Obviously, I also have a lot of great respect for Steve Jobs and the like, so I wouldn't pigeonhole either company into a certain approach. I will just ask questions like, well, what if an Iranian wanted to use Bitcoin? Clearly, I don't think HandCash would allow that. What if someone wanted to use HandCash for Peer Game, which is a gambling app? I'm not sure if governments are going to be good with that. So one of the trade-offs you have with HandCash having the keys and having a more centralized approach is you will come back to the case of certain apps not being allowed to be used, etc. And maybe our implementation of Relay on top of an open source Relay 1, we might be restricted to, but there is other companies who can build on top of the open source wallet infrastructure that can service different kinds of needs.
Right.
So these are problems that I think we have not worked through.
I would agree with that. I think that's very fair, and it's in line with some thinking that I have as far as jurisdiction goes and forking, and realistically having just only an open source wallet solution might not be enough should a country decide to legislate and
I mean, HandCash is based in Spain, right, Alex? Is the Spanish government okay with users playing Peer Game? No, right?
Yeah. At the time, we don't have any inconvenience with that, and also, we don't have the keys of users. I mean, we ourselves have partial keys, as we've been having for over a year now, but we are not custodial. So anyway, I understand your point, but you also know that the right now regulations is, it's not that clearly defined what a wallet is and what's the difference between a custodial wallet and a non-custodial wallet. So it depends on depending on regulations, and also if that applies, because the definition of virtual currency itself varies a lot from country to country. So that's something that we took in mind when building Connect, in a way that we are trying to have this approach of, we think we are building something that's new enough, so the regulation might not be specifically clear in every legislation, but we are taking a very safe approach of, we have every user is registered with a phone number and a verified email address too. So we think we are taking a very friendly approach. In case something happens wherever, we are going to talk with regulators, we are going to fix whatever needs to be fixed. But I mean, we cannot be accused of being hiding or facilitating people doing illegal transfers, because one is against our terms and conditions. We can terminate any account at any point if something like that happens. And we have all the records, and we have everything of everything that happens inside the app, which is something that we didn't have back in the beta account, when the beta wallet, where we were super decentralized. We didn't even know what was going on with the user accounts, and it was such a mess. So I think the regulation will come. You don't have if you see the story of companies like Bird or Uber or Airbnb, they were not waiting for regulation to be ready, because it was something that didn't exist, so we didn't need a regulation. Regulation follows innovation, and we are doing the same approach. We are doing it in a very safe way. We are trying to be as transparent as possible and as law obedient as possible. But there might be some gray areas, and we are going to be very open about what we are doing.
Do you think that is going to allow you to continue to have one app experience going forward, or do you think you're going to have to kind of develop versions of your app with different functionality and lower levels of interoperability for users across borders in time?
The app itself is going to keep being very basic and essential, and we don't expect to have different flavors for different countries. At least not at this point.
Okay. I'm not sure if I'm with you there. I mean, we already kind of see that happening with other apps as they try to comply with regulations and different rules in places.
I mean, we could, in theory, for example, this is another example. Yeah, we could have another kind of flavor for Australia, for example. In Australia, we could be fully custodial, and we wouldn't need any extra regulation because on the way that they define what is a virtual currency and many other stuff, we could be custodial there. Mm-hmm. The problem is that, yeah, it also has a development cost, and also being custodial is ideally you don't want to be in that position. It's much better to be non-custodial for many reasons, and also for upcoming regulations. So I think it would be a headache to have many flavors of this. We are, at the time, we don't see the need to actually do it. If we have to, we might have to consider, what we do, or imagine if we would have to have this is the example we have with China, for example. HandCash is not available in China, and we don't have Chinese users as far as I know, because the app stores don't allow us to publish the apps there. At least they told us that crypto apps are forbidden here in the app store in China, whatever. So we cannot, and we are not going to offer it through an APK, or we are not going to enter that arena. We want to, if China doesn't want HandCash to be there, we won't be there. We are trying to play it safe.
What if an app, right? What if an app, because like you said, Money Button is clunky. Let's say you think Relay is clunky and they just love HandCash. Are they supposed to do that in the Chinese market?
He's just postulating.
Don't put things in my...
He's just hypothetical. He's just saying hypothetically.
I'm saying, assuming HandCash is 1,000,000 times better than Money Button or Relay, would this app developer still need to add Money Button or Relay just to enter the Chinese market?
I guess so.
Interesting. Yeah. I see what you're saying here.
I guess so. Yeah.
Good thing there's Dot Wallet.
He said, "Good thing there's Dot Wallet."
No, I mean we would love to be in China, but we don't want to run into issues with the Chinese government, or it's not the kind of situation we want to be in. I mean, we are, even if we were, a pretty good company in Spain, and we have like 500,000 users, that's pretty good. So if we have users all over the world, except for, some exceptions like you said, Iran and China, and I think it's North Korea, and maybe a couple more. But I mean, we can sell with that.
So we got another question. This one's for Alex. This is from Randy. For you, Alex.
Hey, Randy.
How many users does HandCash have? If you're comfortable.
We are not sharing that kind of information.
No? So it's over 1 million.
No. Approx. Give or take.
What about daily active users? How about that one?
No, we don't share that.
When are we going to find out?
Probably never.
Never. Jeez. All right. Well,
why is that considered anybody's business?
For sure.
Just out of curiosity.
It isn't. They're just trying to pry information out of
we are, we disclose this information to investors and all that, but it's not something that we don't want to enter a public battle of who has more or less users or whatever, because who cares if if Bitcoin doesn't matter? Who cares if we have 50,000 users or 10,000 or 500 or whatever? I mean, it's meaningless. If we had 2 billion users, maybe we would advertise it, but it doesn't make any difference at this point. And again, we don't want to enter this, but you registered with Money Button and you get this ID that's in numerical order and you are the 28,000 or whatever.
So
we don't care.
Here's a point to make to the both of you. Where do you see BSV within the? It's obviously like a top tier coin in terms of market cap, but how do you see it fitting in with those other top tier coins, right? Do you think that it is emerging? Do you think it has arrived? Do you think it's in its infancy comparatively?
Well, I think let's look at some user numbers that have been published in the rest of the ecosystem. Coinbase, a major US-based and Western Europe-based exchange, cites 35 million people in over 100 countries trust Coinbase. Okay, and then on the non-custodial side, like real non-custodial, not two-party non-custodial, the MetaMask wallet on Ethereum has 1 million daily active users. They reached that number at the peak of this DeFi boom, so far peak in September. And they reached 1 million registered users in February of this year. So if you look at comparatively speaking, the multiple of Ethereum market cap, I think, is about 12x BSV right now, maybe 11. BTC is maybe 75 to 80x. But the user base numbers for something like a MetaMask is probably around the same. There's 50,000, maybe 20,000 people in BSV. So it's 50x actually on MetaMask versus number of users in BSV. So for as much as there's talk about on-chain usage and things like this, there's just a lot more on-chain usage on Ethereum in terms of real applications. And I think that's part of the criticism being targeted on Bitcoin apps, saying that this is a bunch of weather data, air pollution data, stress testing, wash data, etc. And I really think the token explosion on Bitcoin SV will help show how Bitcoin is better than something like an Ethereum. And the competition is going to be pretty fierce.
My take on this is that, but this is my personal take, and well, I think most of my team thinks the same, is that, yeah, imagine MetaMask or whatever, you said they have 1 million users. It's totally irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. I mean, it hasn't changed anything. It hasn't advanced anything for a new economy. It hasn't moved the needle at all, even with 1 million users.
I'm not saying I'm impressed by 1 million users. Okay?
Yeah, I know.
I think they're capped at 1 million because the Ethereum chain doesn't scale. If the Ethereum chain could scale, they'd have 100 million users.
I know, probably. I don't know. But even if they had 100 million users, well, no, if they have 100 million users, that's something. No, but I was going to say that so far we haven't seen value proposition of why all of this crap that we're building matters. We haven't seen one particular use case where, okay, this changes things. We will. I am sure that we will. And probably it will happen in BSV. But I think all of those numbers on how many gamblers you have on Coinbase or whatever are totally meaningless, and maybe are even distorting the reality of what we're building. And even if you look at CoinMarketCap, I was advocating naively. I have to admit that I was a little bit naive months ago. That when exchanges were delisting BSV, I was like, oh, this is a win for BSV. We don't want to be there in CoinMarketCap or whatever. And well, kind of turns out that many companies right now are, depending on that price. So even though it's distorting and it's totally meaningless for us or for the long-term vision, for the short term, there are many people depending on the price of that thing, but I don't know. I don't follow those things. I don't know the metrics of if we are the number 6 or number 25 on CoinMarketCap, and I couldn't care less because I don't see that any of those other projects or networks or whatever you want to call it doing anything meaningful at all. I only see people desperate to make money and people trying to profit from those desperate people, and that's all I see in crypto, and it's very sad. At least that's, but again, that's my perception, and I could be totally wrong with this. But the thing is that we are focused on building something that makes sense by its own, by itself, without having to rely on making it, comparing with whatever CryptoKitties or whatever they're building on Ethereum. Or we don't want to snatch developers from Ethereum because they're also super contaminated with all that crap. And I'm fearful that all this token explosion, as Jack said, will only bring the next wave of ICOs and bullshit to BSV and not produce anything of value. And we start changing our focus from actually building things that matter, or keep experimenting until we find a few formulas that actually work with this technology, and we start falling for the quick buck on gambling. And you guys don't know. You guys don't understand how the amount of distaste that I have for that.
That's fair. I think there's space for all of the different things that people want to explore.
Sure. And it's unavoidable that if we have some success, that you are going to have people scamming other people with that's unavoidable. It's going to happen. Yeah. I just hope that people don't
fundamentally
get
what is the difference?
Oh, we need tokens. What?
So Alex, you're saying you're not going to have tokens in the next 3 to 6 months?
No, I haven't said that.
Okay, so what are you going to limit people how they're going to use tokens in HandCash?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, if I do a CryptoKitties, you're not going to allow that?
I'm not going to talk about details on what we are going to do with tokens.
No, but you seem very passionate about making sure this casino thing doesn't come over into BSV.
No, I just say that it's going to come unavoidably, and it's going to come, and we are not going to take part in that on the gambling side. If we add tokens to HandCash, it's going to be in a way that we think it makes sense for developers and it makes sense for building great stuff. But we are not going to just try to make a quick buck by becoming multi-coin ICO casino. We are not. I mean, we have many other companies to actually do that, and that we'll be glad to actually have all sorts of tokens and CryptoKitties and stuff. We don't want to be there because we saw that it hasn't moved the needle in any of the other chains. And maybe you're right, and maybe it's just a matter of,
though, in that sense.
Moving the needle is making something that's meaningful for the world and actually changes the game of money. And
do you have to change the game? Say you want to introduce an NFT. Is that enough of a usage of BSV to you? I mean, where do you draw that line? That doesn't seem like gambling to me, Alex.
I mean, people who buy Pokemon cards on eBay, how's that different than buying NFTs on chain? You are speculating on the
what
appreciation
do you mean by NFTs? I'm sorry, I don't speak that language.
Sorry. Okay, so NFTs
non-fungible tokens.
Non-fungible tokens. Oh no, we are very interested in that.
Okay.
We are very, very interested in that.
Where do you draw that line?
We think a secondary economy. We think a very secondary economy on those kind of tokens might make sense. No, I'm just saying that. Okay, again, I'm not against this kind of thing. I'm not against non-fungible tokens as per se.
That's your.
Yeah, we don't like the gambling side, and we don't. I mean, we don't want to support things that we think don't add any value to the world.
Okay, but that's the
But,
type.
but
have
you
the
like Pure
potential
Game
to
as a first
have-
app on Pure Game,
Huh?
on HandCash.
What?
Ask that again, please.
But you like Pure Game as a first app, one of the first apps on HandCash.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any issues with what peer gaming are doing. Well, that's actually gambling and voluntary and whatever. It's a game, and you know what you're doing. What I don't like is that these people are like, oh no, if you buy this kind of democracy tokens, we are going to change the world and revolutionize this, and we have this white paper. I don't like all that crap. I'm okay with gambling. I'm okay with secondary markets of Pokemon cards or even Pokemon's by itself for the game. I mean, I think it should be something cool that you could be able to tokenize exclusive Pokemons and stuff. I think that solves a lot of things for companies like Nintendo. I'm all for that. What I don't like is trying to push things that are just empty shells, and they're just scamming people. They don't have any kind of substance behind it. And we don't. And actually, even if we support all these kind of tokens, you're not going to see in HandCash, like a list of you have this of 150 different collectible tokens of 150 different companies. If we do it, it's not going to look like that. I think that model failed, and we can keep trying for 10 more years, but I haven't seen anything good coming from that. And I think there are other formulas where you have this kind of tokens and this kind of value, but just, hey, this is a token. Let's call it a kitty token, and you have 500 kitty tokens. You have 300 Pokemon tokens. You have this other token, and you have and you have all these. I have seen all these Ethereum apps that are full of collectible tokens and are full of data and shit and intoxication, and it's all meaningless, and people are not using them. And maybe because they are so complicated, they are not attracting new people. But again, that's my take. I could be wrong, and I hope that you guys do this, add all these tokens and it goes very well. And maybe it's just a matter of the platform. Hey, maybe you're right, Jack, and maybe it's just a matter that if everything that is running on Ethereum were on BSV, maybe they would have like 100 times more users, and maybe that's the way to actually have more experiments going on and figure out the right formulas. I don't know. I don't have I don't have all these answers. What I know is what we've seen many of these experiments in other chains, and we don't want to repeat what others are doing. Maybe we're wrong.
That's fair. So, you're both pro token, but maybe implementations are going to look a little different between HandCash and Relay, is what I'm hearing.
Probably. I don't know. I don't know what their implementation is going to look like, but I don't know. I don't want to replicate the same thing that we see on Ethereum.
Sure. That's what it sounds like. And, to me, I think that maybe the scaling issue that occurs on Ethereum, it serves these very kind of flash in the pan opportunities where people are able to take advantage and play a very quick round of musical chairs. And then, obviously a lot of people end up without a chair to sit in. Hey, what's up, Randy? We see you popping in.
Hey, Randy.
Can we get a mic test from you? Randy. Let me get a mic test from you if you get a chance, so I can make sure you don't blast out too loud.
Test.
Yep, that'll
How'd I
work.
sound?
You sound good, man.
Yep,
Welcome.
Welcome.
Glad to have you back.
What's up, Randy?
Actually, I'm going to turn you up a little bit.
How do I sound?
You sound good. I'm just turning you up on the feed side so that you come through.
So I just want to make a comment on what Alex is talking about, where I see where he's coming from. You see all of this, the really popular stuff on Ethereum is usually a scam, right? But if you can read between the lines there's a lot of value to be extracted from that Ethereum world, and a lot of cool projects that do have real use cases, like Gitcoin, where you can submit code and get paid for it directly without having any kind of middleman situation. If they use your code, you get paid, stuff like that. You also have tokens on BSV are going to look a lot different than the way tokens look like on Ethereum, because BSV allows you to put certain kinds of data and certain kinds of file types directly onto the blockchain. And so you can have all types of micropayments, revenue sharing, really, really beautiful stuff that will flourish if it gets mainstream traction. But really what you're trying to do here is we look at Ethereum as the experiment for scalable Bitcoin. And how can we extract all of the value out of Ethereum and bring it into a world where any lay person can go and use BSV and use the Bitcoin blockchain to actually earn money and earn money over time and buy and sell and trade anything that they create. And that's the exciting part of tokens on Bitcoin.
I totally agree with everything you just said.
No, you can't totally agree right now after you just took a shit on everything in Ethereum.
No, I took it. Yeah, I'm saying that we haven't seen so far anything that moved the needle. But maybe you're what I just said.
I mean, CryptoKitties
that maybe you're right. Maybe
the needle, Alex. It very much did. It's undeniable.
It did at some point. Yeah. I don't know if it was because of the novelty or whatever, and maybe and I said, Jack, maybe you're right, and maybe those things they haven't moved the needle because they haven't had enough exposure because of the crappy network they're running on.
It's not really about scale, Alex, but I do get where Alex is coming from when he's you look at the Ethereum landscape, and the first thing that you see when you look at it from like an objective perspective is, holy shit, this is all a scam. And it can be kind of may not want into it to really find the stuff that actually has value. So Alex does make sense from that perspective. I totally agree, and I think that's what all Bitcoiners kind of agree on, this idea that, like, most of crypto is a scam, and it's a huge turnoff, especially when like all your friends who had nothing to do with crypto lost all their money in 2018.
I agree that we have to extract whatever we find from value from other, and I'm not talking only about other chains, but other experiments that might be going on. There are many exciting things also happening around Lightning Network and other kind of, not only this kind of networks, but also in banking and open banking APIs. There are some very, very cool banking apps right now. And there are many, many things that we can learn from all of that. But again, the same way that you have, I think maybe you have one great example of things that make kind of make sense, that maybe need more exposure or a better network to run. But you see every 100.
They don't need more exposure. I mean, even the scams make a ton of money. I mean, what are we talking about here? If we're talking about businesses being successful and users making money, I mean, these guys have hit the nail on the head with that shit. A lot of people made a lot of money. I mean, so what I'm saying is, I don't think the number of users or the scale is the real problem there. I think that the overall culture and the huge amount of confusion and misunderstanding and not understanding how anything works, and the culture really comes from buying Bitcoin where it has BTC, with no utility, right? You have BTC with absolutely no utility, and people buy it because they believe it will go up after they bought it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. It's not the same as buying a stock in Apple, which is a company that really innovates and produces things that we can hold in our hands and use. And
but that doesn't mean that's not a reasonable analogy.
Do whatever the hell we want.
I agree
too. If that's
say that again?
I'm saying that's not an unreasonable analogy through which to view it. If that's the best approach that people have to understanding it, so that they're not just thinking of it as explicitly a currency or a money, and they're able to see that within this particular chain, this solution represents an economy. No?
You have BTC, which you think of it as a currency, right? That makes it easy to understand it. But actually, it's not a currency. I can't send a penny to you on BTC.
Right.
And then you think of Ethereum, and you're like, well, it's not necessarily a currency. It's really just a way to have digital ownership. And when you look at that, it actually starts to make a little bit of sense. You see, with Ethereum, you start to get an idea of what Bitcoin SV
potential
really means, because you have data and you have money intertangled in such a way that it's almost you can't really separate it.
Right.
And I think so. I think that as a currency, you go into BTC and say, oh, this is the new currency that everybody's going to use. Oh, wait, I can't actually use it as a currency. Same with Ethereum, actually. The fees are just as high. So
sure.
I mean,
and then,
you really have major problems over there that we don't have. And I think just all we have right now is a major opportunity.
I agree with you. And that's where you kind of run into the headbutt between an option like Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Cash versus something like the Lightning Network, a second layer, trying to create these smaller economies that cannot exist on top of the chain because of the fees. I think all that's reasonable. They're solving different problems. I think we're going to see bigger problems or different, more unique problems that will need to be solved. And I'm not sure that any of the chains that we prefer currently are equipped to do that yet. But we'll see.
Yeah, Bitcoin Cash is actually a pretty good example of something that almost does it. It almost does it for us, But at the end of the day, I think that Bitcoin Cash's biggest problem is a culture problem. They cannot separate or get away from these protocol changes, and they're always thinking about protocol, and they never got to the point where they were thinking about business. And that's where Bitcoin SV just did it. We just did it from the start. We saw what Bitcoin SV was, and then we started a business on it. It wasn't like we were thinking about the protocol or worrying about X, Y, Z. If you can't get past protocol level, you're going to always end up in the same boat as BTC.
So,
Amen.
For you, Randy, when are we going to be able to use our HandCash wallet on Twitch?
I don't know. I think you have to ask Alex. I'm not even sure how the relationship is going to work yet. So we're gonna figure that out. But we certainly want to integrate.
Well, Henry might know a little bit more.
I'm gonna take a look and see about some comments here because people have been kind of going off on the chat on Periscope. I'm not seeing any questions. Just so you guys know, you can feel free to ask questions on Periscope and I'll relay them through. Sorry, what was that? Heard somebody say something for a second. Oh, who is that? Let's see. Yeah. I don't know.
Jack, are you still there?
I'm here.
So you have anything, any take on any of the stuff I just put out there?
Well,
this Ethereum stuff and this.
Look, I think inevitably, right? MetaMask was a pioneer in terms of non-custodial wallets that integrated with app. This happened well before HandCash with Cashport, well before MoneyButton. Uniswap, pioneer. You talk about DeFi having tokens. Well, Uniswap didn't have a token until a couple months ago. But for the last 2 years, they were doing on-chain trading. So that allows you to have non-custodial exchange of assets on the Ethereum chain. I think what's happening is, like you said, we have to give credit where credit's due for some of the innovations that have happened on Ethereum. They don't scale, and people are able to take advantage of the fact it doesn't scale. So here's a narrative, right? It was supposed to be all on BTC. All of this stuff was supposed to be on BTC. And if it was all on one chain, then it could all work with one wallet or multiple wallets on the same chain. By having BTC clogged up, which was supposed to be a self-evolving network that improved itself. Look at the mining hardware. It went from CPUs to GPUs to ASICs without any user interference. But then once you clogged it, it became Ethereum, which was wrongfully sold to you as completely scalable when it's not. And now, rather than admit that Ethereum is wrong and come back to, let's say, BSV, the people who have made a lot of money on Ethereum are now just making a new chain, let's say called Serum, let's say called Binance Chain, and whatever. This is very market opportunist, etc. And those chains, like Solana, etc., might be scalable today, but they will also become the next Ethereum in 3 or 4 years because they're not self-evolving, because it's incentivizing the people who stake those chains, and people who have stake in those chains aren't necessarily the best people to scale those chains. Whereas Bitcoin has a zero staking policy, Bitcoin SV. So anytime someone can come up with a better model as a miner, the chain advances without users being affected. So that means that this whole thing has happened on Ethereum, which still requires multiple central exchanges, because you still need to every day go from the Ethereum chain to the other chain to the other chain, which obviously cannot be running automatically. Those automatic systems can come onto Bitcoin SV. And I think, like Randy said, you're going to see a huge explosion. I look at it less like what's happened on Ethereum is a scam. I look at it more like, if you have transaction fees at much lower levels, then you won't just have DeFi. You'll have everything else. Because everything else, the notionals aren't as big. Like you said, for NFTs, like you said, for on-chain data, those things are only possible on Bitcoin SV. So I think of Bitcoin SV as in addition to what's happened on DeFi, everything else, rather than just porting over DeFi over to BSV.
Just really quickly, I want to say Hasib is in here, right? You joined in. You want to say hello, introduce yourself, just so people can see your chat head, please. Hearing me?
Well, anyway,
keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, Jack, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think the big problem is BSV capable of doing what Ethereum does better than what Ethereum does, which is obviously a fact, right? We know that. How do we kind of create an atmosphere where because clearly it's not just about the technology for developers and for users and for all of the stuff. We have to create an atmosphere where people feel welcome and want to be a part of, developing on this and using it. I think a lot of the misconception in the developer world is like, oh, if you build it, they will come. If the technology is good, it will win. And that's just not the case, right? And so the real question becomes, it's like, how do we combat this anti-Craig, anti-Calvin narrative in a way that just makes way more sense, and so that rational people can just come in and see what's real and what's fake,
Yeah, I think there's no secret formula. I mean, I do have the secret formula. Just make one app that makes some money. I think Twetch, obviously, look at what Twetch did, right? Twetch did it for data. So now after Twetch, there's Haoping, there's BitSV, there's all kinds of apps, right, that are built that are similar to writing data on chain. All you need is one token application, whether it's BSV CryptoKitties or BSV something else, that takes off even to 10,000 users, like Twetch has done, maybe 20,000 now for Twetch. And then you'll have all the smaller guys on Ethereum who are maybe the number 7 DeFi product or the number 8 CryptoKitties knockoff. Those guys will start coming over. And that will inspire copycats and other inspirations, and it'll just start taking off. And then you'll have like token on BSV conferences and things like this. I think you just need one, and I think it's going to come. And I do think the wallets need to get their shit together, because right now with Paymail, right, it's been great. It's aligned most of the wallets in the space. I think we all use Paymail. So congrats to obviously Enchain and Moneybutton and the teams that initially adopted it. But once we go into tokens, right, like for example, Relays launched with Run. I can't send those Run tokens to HandCash. So it's almost like BSV has forked again. Because now on the token layer, it doesn't work interoperability right now. So we have to solve that.
Yeah,
Otherwise, this network effect can be done with BSV won't work with tokens.
Why do you need a token layer to be interoperable?
Why do you need it?
Oh, you'll see. Yeah, it'll make your users money. But yeah, I do agree, Jack. The biggest problem, I don't know actually if this is what you were totally saying, but the biggest problem is the onboarding problem. It's that you can't get BSV. Once you get it, you got to get this app and you got to get that app, and it's really hard to log in and all this shit. It's just a big pain in the ass. I
think BSV is relatively interoperable. But I mean, like, if you get a token on Fabric, we're going to for sure make sure that Relay supports whatever protocol Fabric does, assuming it's open. And it better be open, otherwise it's a business case disaster. Otherwise, the token will not boom. So you compare it to Ethereum, right? So Ethereum has this thing called like Wallet Connect. Even Coinbase, a major, what people perceive as a centralized company, they have a Coinbase wallet that runs on, I believe, Wallet Connect, which allows all kinds of different wallets, including MetaMask and other things, Trust token, I'm token, all these wallets to connect on the same basis. So the same way you can log in with MoneyButton, HandCash, and Relay, you can log into Ethereum apps with multiple wallets. So if there's a token ecosystem that's emerging on BSV, I hope that there's definitely more options than just Relay to log in with.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, people are just going to go to the one that supports the most connections. Like, for example, I use Coinbase Wallet I use my MetaMask in my Coinbase wallet, so I'm able to have all my crypto kitties and all that right there in my Coinbase wallet, even though I'm using MetaMask. That definitely, Jack, is going to be the way.
Or you decouple token handling from the wallets.
No, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Oh, I don't know. We'll see.
Once you see the token ecosystem on BSV start to kind of blossom, that's when the connection will come. And but you should really use Ethereum, I think.
Probably. The thing is, I've used Ethereum. This is a long story. There's one particular story that we cannot. I cannot. I think I cannot disclose it yet. One day I will have an NDA.
But as far as the N-chain and the anti-Craig problem goes, it's like, no, the N-chain's actions don't influence the operations of our companies because, if anything, they make the more that they update, the easier it becomes. They're going to get rid of the limit where you can only do 25 transactions in a certain amount of time, stuff like that. All of that stuff, the protocol stuff that's the beauty of BSV is that the protocol stuff isn't our problem. We have also a case study on Twitch. This guy Chad on Twitch, he's constantly talking. So his business is run on BTC and Ethereum, and they do all their payments in BTC and Ethereum. And he is just screaming that BSV is the solution to all his company's problems, and he's talking about it constantly on Twitch lately. And I think that the word of mouth, the real advocacy for, hey, this works and it works better than anything else, is growing, and it will continue to push this ecosystem forward and get every new user every single day. And we are seeing that on Twitch, is that just the fact that it works and that it works better than everything else is a huge factor in bringing in new people.
Yeah. The more success cases that we have on BSV, the more we will attract. And it will come to a point where we will reach a tipping point where all this Craig narrative won't matter, because we will be attracting people that they don't have any initial perception of this in the first place.
Michael, where did you want to take the conversation from here? Thanks, Randy, for jumping in.
So I like when you guys kind of have an exchange that doesn't necessarily require prompts, and that we're all kind of able to jump around.
I've got one. So Jack, I really like your take on tokens. Can you just talk about like, start from the top on like your take on how tokens will kind of take over the BSV ecosystem, or at least flourish there?
Yeah, there's like this super utopia of the world, which I think a lot of the BSV people are very visionary people. Not talking about myself, talking about the user base actually. I think a lot of the user base of BSV today use BSV because they have a vision for what BSV will be, not necessarily because these apps or these wallets work that well. So kudos to those users, but about 10,000 people, right? And for those people, myself included, it will be enough to just use BSV because we're living in some super fantasy or super nirvana of like 8 billion people using BSV only on chain. And I think that is somewhat inspired by Craig's message. And I think Craig's a systems thinker. So I think that's correct, that everything will be BSV. But in the meantime, on the transition, so we can either transition two ways, right? We can either, every single person that's not currently woke and using BSV, we can all just continue using traditional share certificates. We can continue using Swift network for money transfer. We can continue using Western Union. And one by one, we decide to convert our life savings into using BSV. That's one way of getting BSV adopted. And I think even that way might happen. It just takes a long time. The other way is to almost run it like an inception kind of a game on the population, where you give people the same thing, like a mirror effect of what they're using today, but translate that asset onto the BSV blockchain without them knowing about Bitcoin. So Ethereum has done a simple example of this by making a USDC token that represents USD. Now people don't have to buy into whether Ethereum price is up or down. They don't have to buy into whether BSV price is up or down, and they get to use USD on the Ethereum and now the BSV chain. So Ethereum could not handle the proper tokenization of all the other assets, but Bitcoin can. So you can have a world where billions of different assets from today's just separate fragmented databases are migrated onto the Bitcoin SV chain. And the true believers, the current 10,000, and that number will continue to grow, those people, if you want to, can keep on using BSV as your base currency and unit of account. But you can let people have a orderly transition into a full Bitcoin system. Because even no matter what token you use on Bitcoin, you still get, in my ideal world, the same interoperability, the same low fees, the same fast transactions that you do with the BSV native asset right now, which would still represent a huge improvement over, let's say, buying Tesla stock on the American Stock Exchange. Now Tesla stock could be on the Bitcoin SV platform and things like this, which will enable 24/7 trading, which will open a lot of capital markets, etc. Not just one traditional example. So if you think about that kind of a migration, yes, that will get a lot more transactions on Bitcoin SV. That will get a lot more miner revenue, and you might have a Bitcoin price of $1,000 or $10,000. So yes, the holders of BSV are still benefiting tremendously, but you see a lot more usage of the Bitcoin chain for things other than just BSV transactions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I imagine a world where everything that you create on BSV is itself a token, and that can be traded and monetized, and every time it's shared, you make money, and all of these amazing things. Like every single one of my Twitches will be a token that I could literally post up for sale in some kind of future world marketplace, as in like, hey, I'll sell you this Twitch, and all the revenue it earns in the future will be yours, or something like that. I'll sell it to you for now for $10, and then maybe you'll make $11 over the course of the next 11 months, something like that. But not just Twitches, you can have anything.
Yeah, it'll be for everything. It'll be for everything.
Everything that you publish to the internet will be able to buy, sell, and send to somebody else and transfer ownership that way.
That sounds reasonable. I always think about like authentication, right? And like certificates of authentication and how that can work on blockchains to verify a real world or physical thing. And I think that we are physical things. So being able to cross that that divide between those two things is kind of important, particularly when we see so much occurring to falsify information or quality of products and things like that. I think that might be a good use case too, and that's an extension of tokenization to me. I'm not certain how that works, but be interested to hear what all of your thoughts are on that.
Sorry, Michael, can you make that point again?
So how do you see going from digital authentication, right, into the physical world to make sure that we have like certificates of authenticity for physical goods reaching into BSV or blockchains in general? I'm kind of interested in that because
I think we can talk that in a few years, because the friction is so much lower for pure digital things.
Sure.
Like CryptoKitties is easier to do on Bitcoin than I believe I saw an idea actually called like Forever, like a fur, like cat's fur, Forever. We can like actually tag your dogs and cats and real world physical animals, and have like if you lose your dog, you have a collar, and then you can scan their code and see who the owner belongs to, etc. Like I just think the pure digital world product and is easier to build than and get adopted today.
Quick question.
agree.
I'm sorry. But what if I take what if someone takes the collar off my dog?
I don't know exactly. That's what I'm saying. You have things that are off chain going on.
Well,
you know what I mean? That's too hard.
You could chip your
dog. I think maybe an easier example would be something like.
I'm sorry. Quick question, Mike. If you chip your dog, that's not safe from an EMP attack, right?
Well, I'm just
Brian, we don't have a solution right now for that. Right, that's the problem. But I think that maybe an easier example than a cat or a dog would be like a university degree. Right, your degree is yours, and somehow that's associated with your digital profiles all over the internet, and people know that it's real because it's authenticated by the university that it's.
So that would be like that would be like the university, and you have a multi-sig agreement on the degree, right?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, and then so you make a comment when you're in high school, and then the university finds it after they give you the degree, then they can revoke your degree, or is
maybe
that,
it takes
or does
both.
the multi-sig like protect against the university?
Well, it's on chain, so right, you'll always have the proof that it was given
that
to
it did
you.
occur, right?
Yeah, the revocation.
What if you're like Joe Biden and you lie about your degrees?
Right. So, or Craig Wright, right?
I don't care about Craig Wright's degrees.
Yeah, no.
I just think that's a very bad example, Mandy, because the reason you only get one degree per life right now, or you can get a master's and a PhD, I guess, is because it costs a lot of money to issue that degree. Once it costs very little, you can just take an online course, and then you got something marked on the chain of you having taken that course. So you'll have so many different mini degrees on the blockchain that you won't need this official degree anymore from the university. So I think, again, this is my rant against enterprise adoption, is that what it will look like when it comes to BSV is far different than what it looks like today. So just taking the existing business or existing institution and putting it on chain is kind of a waste of time.
Yeah. Wait, but just real quick though, you don't think like CompTIA putting their certificates on chain, like I think that's really interesting.
Why?
Because if you want to have a provable certificate, and we're concerned about like I could see a CompTIA certificate for you being just a non-fungible token that you have, that you can prove that you did something to achieve the CompTIA certification, if that matters to you. But you don't think that'll even work, like long term. Like you think that like as time goes on, I think I agree with you. Colleges, universities will become, I don't want to say obsolete, but like so affordable or just paid for by the government, so worthless, that you'll have this like alternative degree
degree
Talking about
program.
the path of
that exists
adoption,
online.
right? I'm not making a judgment on colleges or universities. I'm saying that they will be compelled to put that stuff on chain because 1,000 other things related in that field has already been put on chain, and
I got you.
that's when
They'll
they
be
will be
siloed
pressured to do
into
it.
it.
Yeah, but if you go have a meeting with them, I don't care who you know. You can know Larry Summers from Harvard. You're not going to get that on chain right now. It's just the wrong path of adoption.
No, I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense.
They're not incentivized to do that. There's not enough of an ecosystem asking for that verification today. But maybe that comes out of the development community specifically, as people seek to utilize accredited developers or people that can actually point back at their experience, whether it is through a university or just your own projects. The people that have been working to build Twetch and build HandCash and build Relay and I would assume Float SV and Instrumanity by extension, they're going to want to be able to point at those things and say, look, I worked on this. Even if those projects don't exist, being able to, say that it is your work at such and such point on the chain that people can go back to that transaction and look, being able to put a signature.
Didn't Harry say he was going to start tokenizing his GitHub commits on chain?
Yeah,
Harry, the lead developer of Twetch.
Gitcoin or something is on there or something. Randy?
What?
Gitcoin or Harry?
Is Harry going to put his Git commits on chain?
Oh, he's already doing it. Twetch-dev. Twetch space dev. On Twetch. I'll get you their number. But yeah, I really don't like the conversation around like physical tokenization, certification, all that stuff, because it's boring and it's not what we're really trying to solve for right now. What we're trying to solve for right now is how do we take over, how do we do Ethereum better, basically, and in a way that actually makes sense, where every user has profit potential, every artist, makes good money, things like this. The reasons why people use Ethereum in the first place. We can do that a lot better, and we can have a lot more of an economy there.
It's also a nest of SJWs, so I think it needs to be eliminated however possible.
Do you want Ethereum to keep breaking? Isn't that advantageous?
It needs to die. It needs to die.
If it keeps breaking up and up and up into greater stratospheric evaluations or even functionality, isn't that a good test for BSV? Isn't that a good illustration of a path to go, Randy, which you're talking about digital stuff? So maybe eliminating Ethereum isn't the goal, and maybe the goal is to allow it to keep breaking so that you can see where to go.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't say that we're here to destroy anything. We're not. We're here to create stuff, right?
No, Ethereum is going to get better, not break more. It's going to get better. Okay? What I mean by better is it's going to get cheaper fee-wise when they upgrade to Ethereum 2.0. Obviously, nothing compared to BSV. But I think you can't just bank on Ethereum dying on its own. You have to go kill it. You have to build something 100x better than Ethereum. You can't just sit around and be like, ha, Ethereum's a scam, let's just wait. That strategy is not going to work. You've been already waiting for 3-4 years.
Ethereum 2.0. Very funny, Jack.
I think many people in Bitcoin have this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. I think many people in Bitcoin have this kind of approach as, oh, we already won. We already won because this works. Hey, the rest of people are not, the rest of the world is not doing nothing, okay? They're not sitting on their laurels or something. And one day we will wake up and we will have Lightning micropayments running on Twitter. And that's going to happen overnight. And because, it's their goal and they have the technology to actually do it. And those kind of things are going to happen. So we have
it's
to
really
be...
not their goal.
a lot of people, I would say that's one of their goals.
No, a lot of people on Twitter and Facebook want to be treated like a customer so that Twitter and Facebook can't just control the things that they're allowed to say and not allowed to say. People want to pay for these services now. There's a reason why they're not doing it. What Twitter really plans to do is Twitter's plan is to decentralize the protocols so much so that you can spin up your own instance, similar to Mastodon, similar to Twitch, and then they don't have to be the guys who curate what's allowed and what's not allowed. And they say that, and I think that's a lot of posturing and not a lot of actual action.
I would agree with that. I think that it's a really easy thing for them to state, and it's a much more difficult thing for them to implement. And whether or not
I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll go to like paid services.
I would question if
like
it's
if you want to
genuine.
if you want to ad free Twitter here, $2 a month.
Right.
If you want,
they can't do either of those really, because one, the main value proposition of Twitter is their network effect, and they certainly don't want to break that up. And then the second thing is that if they charge, that gives the user some kind of say in the way in which their service is provided, and they don't want that either, because they're the people who actually own Twitter and the people who own Facebook. They're highly influenced, and they want to be as influential as they possibly can. It's just not a feasible idea, and that's why we have such a great opportunity here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey, Alex, I want to know, because Connect's launching soon. What you guys have, obviously, you're the one who built it, so you've played around with. I've seen demos of like some pew pew or some really fast sending transaction things. What do you expect to be the biggest difference or the biggest explosion that will happen as a result of HandCash Connect launching in the early few months that we haven't seen before in Bitcoin? What excites you?
We are very excited about. Especially that you are not tied to creating things for the web browser. That's something pretty cool. And another thing that is very interesting is that this SDK you can build basically your own business wallet, and you don't even have to have users or whatever to use it. So once people actually realize that, right now people are very contaminated, to say it somehow, about what's already out there. So they might not realize many of the use cases that you have with Connect. Also, we are going to, as we are cash oriented, we are going to specialize on some, let's say, advanced payment solutions that are very difficult to construct if you have to build your own scripts with Bitcoin, etc. So there are many of these use cases that we think are going to be very cool for a kind of developer, and we will open up for new capabilities by using Connect, allowing them for it's compatible with Unity, it's compatible with running on any Node.js server or Ruby, or we will have very cool plugins for Flutter, for example. So ultimately, I think it's the two things is that it's going to be very accessible, and it's going to give them freedom to actually create whatever thing they want in any platform they want. I think it's very flexible, and it's kind of cool that you are not tied to actually be in a web browser and have to sign the transactions through the web browser and all that stuff. I think it's quite cool.
You're a big gamer, right, Alex?
Kind of. I used to be more of a gamer years ago, but yeah, I still play.
Do you think that's a vertical that will be very powerful for HandCash Connect because of the fast payments and stuff?
I would like it to, but nothing's granted. Is one of the targets that we have in mind, and we are actively doing things in that regard. We have some companies that just want to see this a little bit more mature, but are bigger companies than currently exist in BSV. But we've been talking with them, showing them demos, and they're pretty interested in this kind of thing. I think Bitcoin will be great for gaming in general.
I used to play a little Fortnite. And one of the things I thought would have been really cool on Fortnite, there's a couple of really great use cases for Bitcoin in Fortnite. You have one is they distribute rare items, so like digital goods that people pay real money for. But those people actually don't own those goods once they get them. They have no idea how many of those goods are issued. The company reissues a lot of them. You can't send them to your friends.
I agree.
And you just don't have any real ownership of those digital goods, and you have no real understanding of the true scarcity and the true value of those goods because there's no real market for them. So that's one place where, like, clearly video games are going in this direction of digital goods, and clearly there's a use case for digital ownership there. And then the other thing that I thought would be really cool would be to have pay-to-play games. So in Fortnite, it's a battle royale. So you got 100 players, they all come in, and only one player or one team ends up as the winner of the battle royale. So imagine if you could pay 10 cents per person, right, to join that lobby. And then all of a sudden, it's a paid lobby, and things are real. And you can imagine a $100 lobby. You can but in any case, it's no longer some useless, unproductive pastime, but a way for people who are good at something to really earn a living off of something like this. And that is certainly the future of how Bitcoin and video games.
I totally agree on. I totally agree on that. But take this example. We are very aware of the kind of things we are building because we don't want to actually cause more damage than good. And by this I mean, especially in the first iterations of this, we have to be very aware of the dopamine effect. And this is something that our team is very cautious about, the kind of things we implement. Because dopamine is one of the strongest drugs that we can have. Well, it's triggered by other drugs or whatever, but it creates this kind of excitement and a rush of excitement for things that we are doing. It's an instant reward, so we have to be very careful about that. And the problem is that if you mix that with money, it's a very powerful drug. It's a very powerful drug, and you have to be very cautious on that. And
I think it'll make the world better. It's all
might. The problem is well, it depends. What happens if, imagine you have a little brother or a sister that spends his full day playing this kind of thing because once every 6 or 7 games or matches or whatever. Makes $20, and what if he's being rewarded instantly with money, with dopamines, and it's
Alex,
instant reward.
You're seeking dopamine whether or not it has money, but just
you might be seeking dopamine, but the problem is that what I'm trying to say is that we have to be very cautious that the things that we are creating can have an adverse reaction that we might not be intending.
I'm gonna just say that I have the exact opposite take on that. I think that
probably
the moment you integrate the money into this dopamine world that we already live in, you have a real opportunity opens up for people. You have real food on people's tables because of video games that they played, whereas before that was not possible.
Yeah, but what if your just imagine this scenario. What if your little brother spends 8 hours a day instead of learning new stuff or making a living?
He does it anyway. They do it anyway. My friends who play Fortnite,
I know.
Kind of true.
No, Alex.
Now you can just
I think in the beginning you're absolutely right because people's conscious level is not at that level of what you're saying. But at a later stage of adoption, what I think will happen is that your phone, for example, and it probably won't be an iPhone, so it will be a new phone, you will be able to set a do not disturb with a price on it. So that if you get too much dopamine hits, then you'll be making money for that. So you actually have less. You have controlled dopamine.
Everything that I was saying, I first started saying that this would be in the first stages.
Yes.
So, I know that with scale, and if you're being rewarded for everything at any time, whatever, if you are being rewarded anyway with other stuff, It doesn't matter if you're playing a
But
video
in what
game
way?
or learning
in what way
about
is
other
it?
stuff.
Could it
What?
possibly be worse than what we already have? We already have the dopamine problem. We already have the addiction problem. The only way to kind of move that in the right direction is to make so that your dopamine is there for a real reason, because now I can put bread on my table, you know?
Or at least for there to be that
we
side
save
effect
the poor,
of that.
or we save the poor by making it too expensive to play.
Okay, so we're coming up on like the last 15 minutes of what we'll do of the broadcast. I got a question coming in from Periscope, and then I've got another prompt for you guys. We'll do this one kind of quickly because, Alex, you addressed this a little bit, but this is from Ruth. Mm-hmm. So do you guys worry that the surveillance state via the Internet of Things will kill people's enthusiasm for blockchain?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Well, wouldn't we just implement? I mean, as a business, you would just want to implement solutions to those problems. You know, things that your users want, so that your company can be more successful. So I don't think that that's a huge problem. I think that if there is an issue of privacy, then it will be solved.
I think that for certain users, you're going to see them shy away from any sort of additional output of data. But I think that in general, people are already basically inoculated to just giving up their information. So it's
most people won't care.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean that I don't. That doesn't mean that even if most people don't care, that doesn't mean that I think it's something that we have to be supporting in any way, or
It's also not really an absolute, right? So like I care about some privacy. But for example, if I have a wireless camera outside my house, I'm actually the type of mindset where I don't care if the cops can see my cameras outside, like, because that's a big controversy about having smart cameras. Is that the cops can connect. But actually, if I put cameras outside my house, and I'm okay with that, but I don't want you to know what's going on inside my house. So it's a certain type of privacy that I think people care about.
Totally.
And other types they don't care about at all.
Yeah, but the way I'm replying to this question is from a more general sense than we from HandCash standpoint, we will do everything that's in our hand to have all the best privacy that we can give to our users, because that's something that's very intricate into what we're doing and what we stand for. But again, I think I'm very concerned about the misuse of blockchain technology in the coming future, especially if we lose our freedoms, Bitcoin, the blockchain can become our biggest enemy. So I think we have to be very aware of what kind of things we are building and who are we serving and how do we apply these things. If we want to sell to the Chinese government and have mass surveillance and whatever, and we are fine because we are making money, then okay. But that's not something that HandCash is interested in actually doing.
I just see a market opportunity for for network companies, for consumer network companies to integrate, blockchain for IoT, but also just start making separate networks easier for customers to set up. So it's common knowledge eventually in the next 10 years that if you have devices, you run them on a different subnet. That's common knowledge. It's not like a esoteric tech thing that
Right.
I think as we get older, society advances, the tech literacy will go up. So I can totally see just things that enterprise tech people kind of know real well, just kind of getting passed down to the consumers. So yeah, I mean, I think, but to answer that question though, it's going to make everybody think about privacy more. Just make decisions about it.
Any other thoughts on the privacy surveillance stuff?
I kind of want to go back to the dopamine thing that Alex brought up, because the other side of the coin there is that if you're not profitable in this world where money is integrated with the data that you use online, then you'll just stop using it. So it might actually lead to less dopamine addiction, less addiction to our phones, because you're using the internet for productivity and in order to profit, and you're no longer using it to kill time and avoid whatever thoughts in your head that you are trying to
Bingo.
avoid.
I think there's
Fully
always
agree
going to
with what you
be
said.
I think there's always going to be a community of companies and service providers that are using the web in its traditional advertising based model. I think we're always going to see that. I think they're always going to be preying on some portion of the population in terms of making the exchange of free service for data.
Yeah, but it's just a matter of the people who are getting prey, the prey, changing their behavior. It's like, do I want to use the platform that's free where everyone just goes there to avoid thinking, or do I want to go to the platform where I can be productive, learn new things, make money, not see ads, or opt in to see ads, whatever the case may be, but I have ownership and choice there, right? It's like, seems like a simple choice to me.
It does seem
Only for
choice.
like B students and A students, though. All the other students are just going to the other place, and that's like 80%. 80% of the world can't muster a B.
Also, if you remember, guys, it seemed impossible for, to me, it seemed impossible like 15 years ago, maybe, to actually think that people would start paying for watching movies again.
I'll never pay for that.
but no.
We can talk about this for another hour. I'll never.
No, you will. You would pay.
No. Here's what happens. Literally, I steal it.
Money button.
No. I steal it, and if I like it, I might buy the DVD. But I'm not going to pay you first to see some crappy movie.
I don't know.
I used to do that when I was broke.
Man with integrity.
Streamanity has a good solution there, and I
good, I'll
think
pay.
that, like, if I'm stealing a pay-per-view UFC fight, if I'm streaming a pay-per-view UFC fight, I would gladly pay $10 to watch that fight. But I don't want to pay.
Live events are different. Live events are different.
For sure,
I agree.
No, but nowadays, what I'm saying is that I remember that at least was the status quo here in Spain was that we all downloaded our music for free through torrent or whatever, and
put it on Plex and you share it with your friends.
Emule and all this stuff, and it seemed impossible to compete with something that was free. But then you see that people are using Spotify and Netflix and Amazon Prime, and it's just a matter of packaging it in a way that makes sense.
Failed. Oh my God. No way. The companies that weren't making any money failed in the long term. Yeah, of course. Like, you're going to have to pay for shit that you use. You just are.
Yeah.
It was like not surprising to me at all that Napster and people stopped using torrents and stuff in favor of Spotify. It's a matter of, businesses providing a service that allows for a convenience that you can only get when you pay for something. It's just that's just the case.
And if you don't have any money behind development and actually making it better, and then you're not. If you're not investing in innovation and the future of your company long term,
how can you if your company doesn't make any money?
Exactly.
So, speaking to that, Randy, let's go into this last.
Speaking of that, wait. Let me say one last thing.
Go ahead.
Let me say one last thing. Regarding that, one of the cool things about Bitcoin is that now this kind of what previously would be open source free software, you can add a counter to it, and start making money, or just charge a few cents for every transaction, or for every.
So you're saying HandCash
every time
start charging?
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
Harry and I are working.
We won't.
Crazy.
No, we won't, because we have money.
Okay, well, that's for now. Let's get to this last piece here. What we want to address, I think, considering that we have two competing software products in HandCash and Relay, what are your thoughts on the recent acquisition of MoneyButton? And obviously, Randy, you're working on a project where you're integrating very heavily with MoneyButton, what is now Fabric. So feel free to chime in once these guys have.
Well,
some
I
ideas.
know that Jack posted some really spicy twetches about this, so let's let Jack go first.
No, then you guys will just agree with me. So you go first, so I can talk after.
Well, then that leaves Alex.
Yeah, okay, we'll start. I don't know all the details about the acquisition. I know that maybe this allows them to, well, a few things. I guess they got rid of Jihan shares, and that's that's kind of cool for them. And also they are integrating into a vertical that can provide them with token solutions, and it's a bigger company, and they're focused on other stuff. I think it's potentially great for Money Button. The only worry that I would have had if I were Ryan in that position, but I'm guessing that if he made the deal is because he's okay with the situation, is that the bigger the company gets, or the more interest that the more parties that you enter in your company, and then from CEO you become CTO, whatever. I would just be worried that development would be a little bit slower, can potentially get slower, and that you can potentially, not being aligned with this other company about the product, and that might affect, I don't know, that could potentially affect Money Button in the long term, or in development, or whatever, or could become something else. I don't know, but I think that if they pull the trigger on this deal, is because all parties involved think it's great for them, and I applaud them, and I think it should be great for them, and if it's great for them, it's potentially good for the ecosystem too, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what their focus is with this acquisition. Are they going to continue? Is the Money Button team going to continue to focus specifically on Money Button, or are they
Or
BSV,
I don't know.
maybe by extension?
I don't know.
Are they moving their time over to Fabric and their efforts over to Fabric? I do know this. I know that Money Button has a really good team. I know that their designer is very experienced and talented. I know that their developer, their main developer guy, is really talented. I don't know where Fabric is going to spend their time. So I can't really answer this question, other than our experience with Money Button has been, we haven't been able to get in touch with them since before the Fabric acquisition, and we're still not able to get in touch with them after the Fabric acquisition. So it hasn't changed anything with our relationship, which has kind of been quiet.
Is Twitch still using Money Button?
Oh yeah. I mean, well,
okay.
Well, I think that's
so. Twitch uses 3 wallets right now, right?
Twitch uses Relay and Money Button currently,
and no dot wallet.
Oh, and dot wallet. Yes.
Okay, all right. Jack, did you have some additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, having been in crypto or this Bitcoin space for many, many years, I think you've seen a lot of incredible products built by very small teams. And I would count Money Button as one of them. We haven't seen very many successful acquisitions by a bigger company. Obviously, I was part of a major one, maybe the biggest acquisition in this Bitcoin history, which was Circle buying Poloniex. And at the time they bought Poloniex, it was a $400 million deal. And at the time, it was the largest Bitcoin exchange, certainly at the time that they started looking into it. And you would have thought that the synergies would have been stronger than they turned out to be, with Circle obviously being highly regulated, fully licensed in the United States, Poloniex being more of a initial bootstrap exchange. You thought there was some synergies there with adding fiat and things like that. But obviously, the competitive landscape on exchanges went completely different direction with Binance and other FTX emerging. So I think my view is that if Fabric has a great plan, I think they could have executed that without Money Button. If Money Button wanted tokens, they probably could have executed that without Fabric. So I think the challenge is on them to prove what is the exact super synergy, if you are bullish on this acquisition, that really required the two of them to link up. Because the Bitcoin stuff is that, Twitch does not need to acquire Relay to be symbiotic partners. Neither does Relay need to acquire Streamanity even, that was more of a bailout because the exchange was going to fold. I mean, the platform was going to fold. So I think that's where my concern is, and I also think it's a loss to lose Ryan as a sole decision maker. I think if you look at what Ryan did, he was very early to a lot of this stuff in Bitcoin, including yours.org, including Money Button. So I would have loved to see Ryan continue to, just give Ryan more resources. If it seems too small, then hopefully Ryan acquires another company or hires more people and raises more money, etc. To the extent that this gets rid of Jihan, I mean, who cares?
Yeah, I totally agree there, Jack. I have also seen acquisitions in this space firsthand, and I've never seen them go in the bullish direction. So we'll see. We'll see.
Are you worried about what that could mean for what you've built with Twitch based on Money Button?
Well, no, I just think that there's a market opportunity for another wallet to come in and take that position. I think that there's a huge opportunity for another wallet to come in and really make money too. I don't know why all you wallet guys are anti fees, but I would like my wallet provider to make money so that I can establish a long-term relationship with them where I'm not afraid that they're going to run out of money and be another, kind of scramble to fix the problem.
Well,
what is Twitch pay?
You're going to pay us a monthly fee, so.
Well, that's yet to be seen, Alex. I think we really would like to get those user numbers before we decide whether or not our business is going to make a decision around that. But I'm not even in a position to make that decision. So, yeah.
I think the other thing that we took away from that acquisition is that's what made us also want to open source Relay, the wallet underneath, so that if something happened to our company, if we decided we wanted to pursue academia or whatever it is, then our user base would not be affected as much. Because I think it's not just a loss for Money Button, it would be a loss for the ecosystem if their development slowed down, right. Which I don't know anything about whether it will or not, because there's so much of the infrastructure built on top of Money Button. I don't think the solution to that is, well, let's just go build on top of Relay instead, or let's go build on top of HandCash instead, because fundamentally the same thing could happen to our companies. So for the space to grow in a lot more it's an uninterrupted manner, I think we need a better, more open wallet infrastructure for sure.
I agree with that. I like the sentiment in general. Well,
I like to say real quick, I actually use all these, all your products. So thanks for making products.
Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, I think everybody probably that hangs out on Partyline is pretty actively exploring, all the different stuff that you guys are doing, whether it is, Relay, Float, Streamanity, or HandCash, and looking for what HandCash Connect is going to offer. And obviously, we're all on Twitch as well and checking that out. And, is there an opportunity for Twitch Pay to be a wallet or to become a bridge to other things? I don't know if that is part of the vision with the SDK or anything, but
we really want to innovate, and we want to focus on figuring out more ways to give our users more control over the stuff that they put online and have them have more opportunity to make more money. That's our number one priority. Number one, if wallet providers can provide a service that is optimal for our experience, that is the best case scenario. But we will build a wallet if we have to. That's what we've always said, and we stick to that statement.
Sure.
There's probably a benefit in being vertically integrated as well, right? Like, I think that's what Fabric's thought process is as well with Money Button.
It has its upsides and downsides.
All right.
And I would say, maybe revisit some of the chat on Periscope for some perspective on what people might perceive as downsides on that.
Right. Gotcha.
At any rate, I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us today. I know it is very late where you're at, Jack, so thanks a lot.
Great to be on. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, and Alex, I assume it's getting pretty late out by you as well. Again, thanks for coming on today, and go back.
Thank
to
you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. Go to Shaw Wars and vote for these guys. You can use Bitcoin SV to support who you think has a good point while it was going on, or after the fact. You can just pump up the value of your favorite cheerleader, whichever one you like. Graphics by Matto Blasto today. Obviously.
Hey, thanks for. I love my avatar. It's great.
Well,
in fact, I'm using now in Slack.
Oh, see, perfect. So the culture extends. Randy, thanks for coming on today. It's been a while. I think it was like a year since we had you hanging out.
Yeah, last time we saw each other was in New York, right?
Well, I mean in person, but last time you were on Partyline, I think, was like a year ago.
Well, thanks for having me, and this was a fun chat. I kind of just stumbled on it on Twitch, and then I was like, oh shit, I should hang out.
Yeah, for sure. Do the other guys want to sign off and say anything that are hanging out?
Alex and Jack for coming on. It was cool to hear them talk about their.
Well, one last thing. What is everybody bullish or bearish on BSV price in the next, I don't know, 4 months?
Bearish. Bearish.
Who said bearish?
On stimulus.
I said it.
I'll say bullish.
Alex.
Oh, Alex says bearish. I thought Connect is going to double the price.
I think the stimulus from most countries should point to bullish.
Yeah, I think we're about to see a boom in BTC and BSV.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
2.2 trillion in stimulus does that.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
I have a
today.
view on that, actually.
Bucks.
We will talk with you before
if you look at the
long.
fact that BTC doesn't do anything, but it's rallied during the entire time that Ethereum and other blockchains have rallied, it's more like those chains became a scaling solution for Bitcoin, right? So BTC remained its status as digital gold. To the extent that it cannot be transacted and it cannot be smart contracted, they solved that by wrapping BTC on the Ethereum network. And so what I think will happen is that if BSV takes over the token from business from the other blockchains, the two chains that benefits is obviously BSV itself, but I think BTC also benefits because they still have their CME integration, they still have their Robinhood, they still have all these PayPal, Square Cash, etc. And to the extent that you need to transact BTC, you might just tokenize BTC on BSV. And it might take many more years for people to just be like, well, let's forget about BTC itself. So if BSV is able to tokenize and take that token boom, I think it'll be a relatively price bearish moment for the other non-BTC chains, while BTC and BSV benefit.
Perfectly reasonable perspective. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah,
we're going to sign off. This will be the end of it, but you don't have to stop talking. We're just going to end the stream. Thank you for joining us today. We'll talk to you before